Well, hello boys and girls, I'm so glad to see you and welcome back to my channel. It's Kid Bombing here and thank you for joining me on another read aloud video. So, I'd like to thank you for leaving comments and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate you guys and you guys are awesome. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting because I've a bit overwhelmed lately because I was busy for my college studies doing part-time. So, thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so I will do another read aloud video for you guys. Some of you seem quite interesting to learn and listen. I have got Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, Uncommon Romance. That was published by Disney Wonderful World of Reading. Are you quite familiar with this classic Disney Cinderella, 1950? So, let's have a go read this for you guys. So, at the end, please feel free to leave your comments down below and give thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Now, sit back, relax, let's begin reading to you guys. Come on, Gus-Gus, faster, urged Jaq. What's the hurry? Wondered Gus, as he raced out of the mouse hole after his friend. Fairy's godmother's here, Jaq explained. She is reading the story of Cinderella to everyone in the library. Gus and Jaq arrived at the library in time to hear the fairy godmother read. Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. The end. Gus was very disappointed to have missed the story. Oh, maybe you could read another one, he asked. The fairy godmother shook her head. I'm sorry, Gus, but that's the only only Cinderella book there is. Then Gus had an idea. Maybe we could make another book, Gus suggested. Most of the other mice cheered, but not Jaq. No. Who would read a book made by mice? Worried a thin little mouse. Cinderella would love to read it, said the fairy godmother. Then she waved her magic wand. Puff! A book cover and paper appeared. The mice and the birds started to work. They decorated the cover and sewed the pages into it with a needle and thread, but something was still missing for stories. The mice knew some good stories. There was one about Cinderella's first day in the castle, and another about the time Jaq was a human for a day. They put these in a book. Why don't we tell a story of Anastasia falling in love? Gus offered. That surprised the fairy godmother. Anastasia? Cinderella's stepsister, Fat Anastasia? Yes, the mice agreed. Then they told the fairy godmother the story of Uncommon Romance. The story began with Cinderella's stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, fighting with each other as usual. That's mine, claimed Drizella, pulling at the silk ribbon. No, it's mine, insisted Anastasia, until rip! It tore it in half. Drizella tossed it back to Anastasia. Oh, you're right. It is yours. Just then, Cinderella's stepmother came in. Girls, stop all this bickering at once, ordered Lady Tremaine. Cinderella's ball is tomorrow night, so pay attention, their mother commanded. Every noble Bocola in a kinder will be there to find a husband, You must make the most of his opportunity. Lady Tremaine continued. A perfect appearance is how to catch a proper gentleman. We should find you men of wealth and mobility. Anastasia became excited. Maybe the Count or the Duke. Drizella added. They both began frantically putting on perfumes and powders. Of course, Anastasia and Drizella needed new gowns and shoes for the ball. The fancier the better, declared Lady Tremaine, so they set off for the village market. Cinderella was also on her way to the market. The princess had stepped out of her castle wearing an old dress so that no one would notice her. But that didn't fool her friends, the birds and the mice. Morning, Cinderella, they called when they spotted her. Cinderella pointed her finger to her lips to hush them. I want to surprise the prince with the garland of flowers, she explained. She invited her friends to come along, so Jaq and Gus hopped into her basket. Cinderella and Drizella and their mother arrived in the market square. Anastasia watched as the flower man sold a garland flowers to the young couple. Remember the tradition? They give those to each other at the ball, and you will always be together, he said. The flower man spotted Anastasia needed a garland flower roses for the ball. Anastasia reached for the flowers. Anastasia, what are you doing? Her mother scolded. The young woman jerked her hand away and left. Then, as she neared the bakery, and the smell of baking bread drew her inside, she found herself right in front of a baker. Her eyes met. He smiled and offered her a fresh roll. Anastasia shyly accepted the gift. Cinderella was passing by and saw all of this through the window. Suddenly, Lady Tremaine stormed in and snatched a roll from Anastasia. I think not. Everything in the shop this shop is inferior. You could build a house out of these bricks, Drizella added, tossing the roll aside. Cinderella watched unnoticed as Lady Tremaine dragged Anastasia out of the shop and hissed. You're not to say the words to that shopkeeper. I forbid it. Cinderella explained to her friends, I knew that look. I think they're in love. Jaq looked at her, laughing. Anastasia's in love. That's crazy, Cinderella. But Cinderella knew better. Anyone can fall in love. Anyone but Anastasia. From Ice giggled. She just needs some help. Cinderella said softly, I had lots of help too, remember? Jaq and Gus certainly did. They had helped her to meet the prince. They agreed to help Anastasia and the baker, but how? I know. We lured them into the square, said Cinderella. Then she whispered the rest of her plan to her friends. To carry out the plan, the bluebirds swooped down and snatched Anastasia's bonnet, carrying it out of her reach. Out of my way, Anastasia yelled as she clumsily chased the birds. She shoved her way through the stalls and carts, causing everyone to tip and spill. Gus and Jaq lead the other mice into the bakery. The mice tried to get the baker's attention, but nothing worked. The baker just didn't notice them. So Cinderella leaned around the door and rustled sharply. The baker around. Mice, he shouted. The baker began chasing the mice out of his shop. Meanwhile, the birds dropped Anastasia's bonnet in the front of the bakery. Anastasia rushed over, picked her up, and jammed it on her head. As she turned to storm off, she ran straight to the baker. But before the two could speak, Gus dashed between the horse's legs and spooked the horse. The startled horse kicked out in fright, accidentally striking Anastasia. She flew through the air and past a startled baker and landed on some eggs. Anastasia was a mess. She was so embarrassed that she ran from a bakery and crying. Anastasia ran through the market. Everyone laughed at the young woman, but Cinderella felt horrible. This isn't how she planned it at all. Cinderella and her friends found Anastasia. I saw you in the baker's shop, Cinderella said gently. Anastasia groaned. He must think I am ugh. Cinderella shook her head. He saw it. It was an accident. Don't give up so fast. I'll help you, Cinderella continued. Come back to the castle and we'll clean you up. Then you'll get you two together. But Mother's a bit set. She thinks he's beneath me, replied Anastasia. Cinderella smiled. I think she's wrong. The baker's terrific. And you'll never go hungry, she added. And Cinderella and Anastasia returned to the castle. Cinderella cleaned up the stepsister's face. There, good as new. Don't stop now. Mother says the looks count for everything. Cinderella disagreed. You want to look your best, but that isn't the most important thing. You're right. What I need is a whole new look, said Anastasia, not understanding Cinderella's words. They got to work. Cinderella gave Anastasia a dress and a necklace to wear. Anastasia admired herself in the mirror. She couldn't believe it was her. Cinderella then gave her some advice. Just remember, you'll catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Who did want to catch flies? Wondered Anastasia. She obviously don't understand Cinderella's message. Cinderella patiently explained the best way to impress the baker is to be nice. You could start with a smile, but Anastasia even needed help smiling. At last, Anastasia was ready to meet the baker again. He'll never be able to resist, Cinderella promised. Anastasia was still worried, but Mother told me not to speak to the baker again, she'd said. Cinderella took her stepsister's hand. Maybe it's time to stop following someone else's orders and start following your heart. Meet me in the market at noon tomorrow, and you will walk to the bakery. Anastasia was excited. I can hardly wait. The next morning, Anastasia needed an excuse to go to the bakery. She snatched for all the bread and threw it outside. Then she hurried to the carriage, calling, "Mother, I have to run to town. We're out of bread." In the market, the baker had bought a garfield of flowers from a flowerman. Shortly afterwards, Anastasia bought identical garland. Cinderella joined her stepsister in the market. With a few encouraging words from Cinderella, Anastasia went off to see the baker. But as Anastasia neared the bakery, she saw the baker holding the garland of flowers and talking to the pretty woman. Anastasia's heart was broken. Anastasia left before she could see the pretty woman's husband walk out of the bakery. Instead, hurt and upset, Anastasia raced off, tossing her own flowers away. The baker spotted Anastasia and dashed off after her. And he had truly brought the flower garland for her. He searched the market, but he couldn't find her anywhere. Where could she be? Anastasia ran past Cinderella crying. Cinderella tried to follow her, but just then, a speeding carriage blocked Cinderella's path. After the carriage had passed, Anastasia was nowhere to be seen. The tired baker sat down to the rest. He didn't notice that the goats had begun to eat his garland until it was too late. The baker was able to save the only single flower. Just then, the baker heard something sniffing. He turned and saw Anastasia. Don't look at me. I look horrible," she cried. "Where did you run again?" But the baker didn't think so at all. "Wait, please, don't run away." He held out the single flower. Anastasia took it and smiled. To the baker, it was the most beautiful smile in the world. Suddenly, Drizella and Lady Tremaine pounced upon them. "Anastasia, you are forbidden to speak to this man," Lady Tremaine said. Drizella snuggled. Her mother grabbed Anastasia's arm and said, "Come along." But Anastasia pulled her arm free and grabbed the baker's hand. "No, Mother, you're wrong. He's sweet. She's wonderful," the baker added, looking at Anastasia. Anastasia looked at the astonished mother and declared, "We are going to the ball together." Lady Tremaine left in a huff and dragging Drizella with her. The baker took Anastasia's hand. Cinderella let out a sigh of relief. As Cinderella and the baker went to the ball, as Cinderella and her prince whilst beside them, Anastasia whispered to Cinderella, "I'm so happy. I can't believe this. I'm so. Cinderella smiled at her. "I knew. Me too," she said. And that is the story of how Anastasia fell in love. Gus finished. "Perfect," cried Jaq. Closing the book, the very godmother smiled proudly. The mice scurried out to give her Cinderella her gift. Cinderella loved the book her friends had made for her. Soon they were all sitting together in the library. The mice listened eagerly as Cinderella began to read. Once upon a time, there's a big castle. The end. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for listening to me when I read to you. I really appreciate you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video so far. I'm glad you like it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification. And you can also look up my social media on the video description down below. Please find me on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest and Facebook page, and also on TikTok. You can support me to get more additional content and exclusive behind the scenes. Please visit me now. And okay, so I'll see you on the next video, and see you guys later.